Hello, gorgeous.
How are you?
Ah, I'm really good. I can't, oh my God, what a twist of something lovely.
Yes, it was pretty rough.
Oh my God, I'm so glad that you're here. It's funny because I remember seeing you like on Facebook and go, yeah, I had her. Yeah, yeah, she was in the dance studio. Oh yeah. And then when you reached out, I was like, yay.
How's everything?
Everything is going well, moving right along. We're doing the whiz again.
Oh, good, good, great.
Yep. So we're kind of review. I think we do it like every 10 years.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're well on our way, like right in the middle of the production period.
Oh,
And just kind of like chugging along for the year, looking forward to summer vacation as always.
right, right.
Hello everybody. Welcome back. And welcome to Change for the Better, the Power of Arts in Education, episode 43.
Change for the better, and the music made me stronger. No, I'm changed for the better. You were there for me. Community, no, I've changed.
So many of my guests have traveled a non-linear path to get to where they are now. And whether it was for a change of heart or change of circumstance, the road that people often take diverges from the one where they set out upon. And my guest today was no different. She graduated high school over 20 years ago. And for a time, she really enjoyed being in the studio as a thespian and as a modern dance student. She loved the expressive nature of dance, especially hip hop, loved hip hop. She took advantage of our dance club, but she had some personal stuff that did wind up taking her away from the studio. Now, after graduating from Spring Valley High School, she attended college at St. John's University. And of course, as life would have it, she transferred a few times trying to figure out where she needed to be. And she ended up pursuing the nursing field, starting at Rockland Boces, then earning her associate's degree at RCC. Fantastic nursing program. Highly recommend it. And of course, she didn't stop there. Once she got on her groove, then she continued her education and graduated with a master's degree in nursing from Dominican College. She is currently a board certified family nurse practitioner. I love that sound, providing care at New York University Medical Center in the emergency department. We have another healer on our hands. So we're going to get right into this. And I'm going to ask the first question, which is what is your name, the year that you graduated, and tell me a little bit more about where you are and what you do now.
So my name is Esskee Doucet. My maiden name is Nance. I graduated in 2000 from Spring Valley High School. Right now, I work in at NYU in Brooklyn, and I serve the underserved population. NYU bought Lutheran Hospital, which was right before the pandemic when everything hit, and it serves the Sunset Park area in Brooklyn. So we're now magnet there, which we're super excited about. Yay! Everyone deserves care, no matter what your socioeconomic status is, no matter what your immigration status is. And that's what our mantra is. And, I'm proud to work there and I'm proud to serve, my community.
Well, thank you for serving that community. You can always come back to Spring Valley and help serve the community because I can't tell you how many students come in and they have, issues or they have a fever or they have so that. I'm like, okay, good, go to the doctor. And they kind of like shut down. I'm like, you need care, you need care.
Right, right.
So we're still dealing with it back at home too. It's
Mhm.
kind of tough. So thank you for that service. And now I'm going to take you back so you can remember some stuff about your high school self. So first, using your adult brain, describe your adolescent self.
I would say I was super curious. I was always told, like, you're so smart, you're so smart. I always did well in school. And that was like something I really, really focused on, while in school. And I was just always intelligent, ran for student class president, I was on teen leadership Rockland, cheerleader, basketball team. I just really, really, really enjoyed school. It was like my solace, being at Spring Valley, especially, really prepared me for the world. It prepared me with all the different people that I have to go to school with, seeing that there's, regents and honors and AP and all the different clubs and stuff like that. It really, really did prepare me for the world. So I really think that high school, being there and that culture and that dynamic really just, propelled me forward.
What about that do you think was most like useful to you?
So I would say, I faced a lot of adversity when I was in school. I'm a teen mom. I was president of my class and I was pregnant and, taking AP classes and honor classes and things like that. And I remember Mr. Pollard and Miss Reddy, my guidance counselors, who really were like, you're not going to be a statistic. You're going to push through this. You are going to make good decisions going forward. And I really like relied on that. And knowing that you have that backing, that support really helped me affirm that, I'm going to make it.
And you did.
Right.
Being an NP in family practice in NYU Medical Center is no small shakes.
Right.
Good. You did good. Well, let's go back to your time when you were in the studio.
Mhm.
And what were things that happened in the studio that helped you to manage or to regulate your adolescent self?
It's so funny you say that. So I think about a time we were in the studio during modern dance class, and I had my big old belly, and we were in groups of 3, and we had to come together, and you wanted us to make a statue of something that's still. And I took my 2 counterparts and I put them together, and their hands were like this and they were fused. And I remember you stopped the class and you were like, wow, this is something special. Like, what does this mean to you? And I'm like, it means unity. We're unified as one. We're one people, we're one person. And I remember everybody like clapping and stuff. And I'm like, oh wow, okay. Like this is why I love dance. This is why I love art. This is, who I am.
I love that. And it's funny, one of the things that we gets talked about a lot on this podcast is that sense of community and the idea of bringing people together from, all different walks of life for the purpose of creation. And so for you to reflect back on that experience, something that, has long gone from my brain, but the fact that you've held on to that,
Yeah.
that's, sort of one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because those are the experiences that just last for a lifetime. Those are
Right.
the salient experiences that people hold on to. So I want to thank you for sharing that because that's a great moment. So what are some of the lessons that you learned there in the studio that you still use today in your adulthood?
It takes me back to when we were getting ready to start production. We weren't even in production yet, we were casting. And like, I really wanted to do it. And you were like, I want you to do it, but there's some priorities that you have to, take care of first. And I was like so upset. And I remember you're like, I'm not saying no, it just can't be right now. And I take that with me with anything that I've gone through in my life. Like, we get bummed when we don't get chosen, or we get bummed when we don't get accepted, but it doesn't mean no. It just means not right now. It's not your time. And everything comes in time, and I'm a believer in that. And all the goals that I've accomplished, they were always on my list. And ideally, I would have wanted them when I wanted them, but it's you have to get it when it's your time. And that makes you really appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, there's a time and a place for everything.
Yeah.
It always rocks my world when a student comes, and listen, a lot of these kids come with baggage, so much stuff, so much life stuff that's completely out of their control.
Right.
And they come to me, wanting to do this thing. And, of course, I'm like, yeah, let's go. Come on.
Right.
My adult brain has to go, how is this going to work out, both
Right.
for the production and for this young person who is dealing with all of this stuff? And, kids are really resilient typically, but there are some things that just like they can't get past in that moment. And I am a big believer that like life is kind of like a conveyor belt. Like those things kind of come in and they go out, and sometimes it gets in the way of what you want to do right now.
Right.
Like
Right.
I said, but life is a continuum. Like we just kind of keep going. So yeah, that's something that I try and teach them all the time. So how do you think you've changed since you graduated from high school?
I think I've changed. I became a better critical thinker. So I became a better critical thinker and really try to weigh out my options instead of just moving off of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of when you're younger, you don't necessarily know how to get your thought process out, make better decisions. How's this going to affect me in the long haul? You're a mom, everything that you do, you have someone who's depending on you. So it really helped me like, okay, no, I can't do that because this is going to happen. Oh no, I can't do that because this is going to happen. So you had to I had to have a more thought out plan. I know what my goals are, but how are you going to get to them? How are you going to execute? And how is this going to impact everything else? Like you said, all these other balls that are in the air. How's that going to impact it? So it really helped me like navigate. So I made like the best decisions possible.
Yeah, it's hard. And when you're so young and
Right.
have another person that you have to think of first,
Right.
adolescent brain is me, narcissism galore. All of
Right.
a sudden, this narcissistic brain can't be narcissistic anymore.
Right.
Has
Right.
to start thinking about others. So, yeah, I would imagine it makes you grow up real quick.
Right. Right. Can't keep forgetting the baby bag.
And you have a daughter, right?
Yes. 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 And
And
she is 21. So speaking of that, I have two older kids. So I was not making the best decisions at the time. My oldest son is 22. He just graduated from St. John's, and my daughter, she'll be graduating this year from University of Bridgeport. And she is 20.
so I think mom seems to be quite an inspiration.
Right. Right. Right.
And do
Right.
you have others? Do you have two older children?
I
Are
have
there
two older children, and I have two small children. After I got married, met my husband, got married. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so you just did it all over again.
All over again.
Oh my
I
God.
know.
I have a 17-year-old and a gonna be 21-year-old. And I'm like, and I'm done.
Right.
I'm not doing it all over again. So
Right. Right.
bless you. Bless you for
Right.
wanting to do it all over again. When they're young, and like now you're, kind of a little bit older now.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
like, I had mine when I was in my like late 20 going into 30, and I was working full time and, trying to do everything that I was doing without children with children.
Uh-huh.
And it was like, okay, this is like the grind. And once I had that's my second, I was like, store's closed.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm not doing this anymore.
I've become a master parent, if you will. I have two sets of friends. I have my friends with my littles, and then a lot of my friends are a lot older than me because, of my older children. And my friends now, they like come to me for everything. Like, oh, this is going on. Do we go to the ER? Do we, they keep crying. Like, I don't know what to do. How do I sleep train? So I kind of like stepped into that big sister role for a lot of my friends because I've, endured. And I think I did good with the olders. They have really taken heed to my advice and my guidance, and we grew up together. We really grew up together. I was reflecting at my daughter's senior night. She plays basketball at University of Bridgeport. And, I just, told her like, you have so much poise in class and you're so respectful and you have so much wisdom. And she's like, it's because of you. And I was just like, oh my God, we're supposed to be talking about you, not me.
By the way, she is like your clone.
Yeah. Yes.
She is your twin.
Yes. Yes. in more than ways than one. Overachiever to the max.
I'm sure.
And that's why it was so important to me to educate myself, I always tell them, like, life gives you lemons. You either make lemonade or you walk around with a sour face because you don't know what to do with them.
I love it.
So, I went in the kitchen and got some ingredients and I made lemonade. No matter what the situation is, no matter how hard it is, there's always like a glimmer of hope. There's a glimmer of light. And if I see that little light, I'm going to chase it. Because if you don't chase your dreams, who will?
Yes. And the fact that you had dreams. Some
Right.
kids like don't even know to dream.
Right.
No, they don't. And maybe because they're so mired in their stuff that they don't kind of think outside of this little tiny bubble. And I'm like, there's a whole world out there. Dream big, but then go
Right.
work to get it.
Right. Right.
So what would your adult self tell your high school self now to help ease the way?
Hmm.
Mm.
You're going to make it. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's
What
hard.
was the hardest part?
Believing in myself. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, a single parent home. And knowing that, like you said, there's a whole world. And when you're not exposed to it, you're not aware of that other world. And you're limited to Bethune Boulevard and Fred Hecht and knowing that there are people who buy homes, who have careers, and you're privy to that. You just have to navigate it. And, I get upset when people say, oh, they're lazy or you have to understand there's not a laziness when you're not aware, when you have a lack of knowledge, when you have a lack of being exposed to things, and I'm blessed in the fact that even though there were bumps in the road, I was exposed to things. This is how you get a checking account. You don't go to the check cashing place and cash your check. You actually have a checking account, like when you're exposed to these things and people show you how to navigate. And I was just blessed in that fact that someone took the time to show me how to navigate, regardless of this 19-year-old with 2 kids, and your view. And I used to get so upset the way people would look at me. And I'm like, my kids don't see no shame in me. They just see their mom. So I put down a plan and someone showed me how to execute it. And I promised myself I was not going to miss the mark. And I didn't.
Who was the person you're talking about, a specific person?
So I came home from school, signed myself out of school after I had my daughter, and I was working at Costco, and I saw one of my old teachers from school, and they're like, "You're working here?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, And they're like, "I heard you had another kid. Like, what happened?" And I'm like, "Oh, life happens, And I had such a bad feeling about myself. So I'm like, all right, I got to find a better job. So I found a job working at a dealership, and this guy like took me under his wing. His name is Joe Segretti. I'll never forget him. And he was like, my family's from Italy. I'm first generation. My dad sold shoes, and he's like, and I sell cars. And he brought me to his house. I met his wife, and he's like, "What do you want to do with yourself?" And I was like, "I don't really know." And he's like, "What do you mean you don't know?" I was like, "I don't know. I know I wanted a job where I could wear shoes to work every day, hear the shoes patter around." So he's like, "Okay, but what do you want to do?" I was like, I don't know. I was going to school to be a teacher, but I got these kids. I got to take care of them. I need to work." And he's like, "Okay, so let's start from square one." He literally sat me down and we wrote down goals and wrote down, he's like, "This is how you buy a house. This is how you get a car," because I'm taking cabs back and forth and stuff like that. And he literally broke down like, this is how I did it. This is how I did this. This is how I did that. I said, I know I don't want to be an assistant anymore because I was a sales assistant. And I went to church that Sunday, and a lady stood up in church and said, during the announcements, we're paying for people to go back to school to become nurses who are minorities. So if you want to be a nurse, meet me after service and we'll fill out the application. So I go and meet this lady. Her name is Liz White. And after church, and I was like, oh, hi, I'm interested in, this nursing thing. And she was like, whose kids are these? And I was like, they're mine. And she's like, you look 12. I'm like, I know. So I meet with her. We fill out this application, and she goes, 12 months, you'll be an LPN. You'll be able to, be independent, your own 2 feet, this, that, and the other. If you do the RN, it's 2 years. But if you get your LPN, you can always go back and get your RN and have your job paid for you. So I was like, okay. So I fill out the application. I take the test, and they're like, there's no more seats. Oh my goodness. I was like in a million pieces. I'm like, okay. She's like, her name is Mary Shine. She's like, at Rockland Bowl. She's like, you'll come back next year. No worries. You got 100 on the test. We'll definitely admit you next. So I'm like, all right, fine. So I'm back at this dealership. I'm like so upset because I really thought this was going to be my out. And 2 weeks goes by, and I get a phone call on the, back then we had the old fashioned answering machines.
I remember.
Get home, I press it, and I'm like, hi, this is Mary Shine. We have seats available. You did really well on the test. I think you would do well. So I call back. Of course, it's after 5. Call the next day, and I'm like, hi, I got your message. Please, please, please. She's like, okay. I'm like, but I thought the program started. It's really difficult. It's a difficult program. She's like, you'll do fine. So I'm like, all right. So I called Joe, and I'm like, Joe, I got in. He's like, go, do what you need to do. I'll fill you in whenever you can. So I started working part-time, went to school, and I finished school and took my boards, and I didn't pass my boards the first time. So upset about that because and then I'm like, but this is my way, it's through adversity. You're really going to appreciate it more. Took my boards again, got a job, and the rest was history.
How long? Yeah, so you finished your RN, the 2-year program,
Yes.
and then did you like go straight into finishing?
No. So I worked as an LPN for 10 years. And then I was talking to one of my nurse managers, and she's like, why don't you have your RN? You're so smart. You're running circles around everyone. And I'm like, I can't. I'm working. I have, my own apartment. I have these kids, and she was like, so? I was like, what do you mean so? She's like, I hear a bunch of excuses. She's like, it's 2 years. The 2 years are going to pass regardless. And I was like, no, you're right. So she's like, start with one class. I'm like, all right. So I took one class. I withdrew. I took the class at RCC, I withdrew. And then my father-in-law had gotten sick. And so we had to move in to take care of him. And me and my husband, we had just gotten married. And he was like, if you're going to go, let's go now. And I was like, yeah, but he's like, I'll take care of everything. If you're going to go, go now. And then I went. I was done in a year and a half. Finished, got a job in the emergency department. Who knew that was my calling? I learned it's the top of my craft. And then I met this lady named Patsy Kivlahan, and she's like, you need to be a nurse practitioner. I was like, I know, that was always a dream of mine. If I link back to that list that I made with Joe Segretti, which I still have, I said, I know, but life. And she's like, here's the application, fill it out. And 2 years later, I was a nurse practitioner.
I feel like sometimes there are like these little angels that kind of,
Right.
are kind of talking in your ear, and they just, when you're getting in your own way, they're like, no,
Right.
let's go.
Yep.
Thank you for telling me that's your story. I never knew any of that. And I think that is a really valuable story for a lot of my kids who I teach, and just people out there who are constantly dealing with uphill battles. And there's so many people who are doing that. So I do think that this is going to be helpful and inspire. So I got the little Zoom thing that like under the time. And so I don't want to ask the next question and then have to cut an answer off. So what we'll do is we'll get off, get right back on, and then I'll ask the next question. Okay. See you in a minute.
All right. How are you?
I'm fine. So we're back. We're actually 3 months later back because in the Zoom technology world where you're recording and then you turn off the recording, I never turn the recording back on for the second half of our interview.
Mm-hmm.
So Esskee is here once again with me. Notice we are wearing different clothing.
Yeah.
We're in a different background. My hair is a little bit longer because we are 3 months later. But she was so good and so graceful. And now we are sitting here together for our next question. What is something that you're grappling with now?
I think now more so I'm finding, especially in how my professional career is taking off, and you deal a lot with imposter syndrome. Like, is this real? Am I really supposed to be doing this? And learning that, when you work really hard, it's okay to be rewarded. And I feel sometimes when you try to accomplish so much, right? And me, I'm that person, like the next best thing, the next best thing. Well, after I accomplished my last thing, I had to sit back, like, do I enjoy the achievement or do I enjoy the climb of just trying to get there?
That's interesting.
So, now that I'm here, there is one more step, which is the doctorate program. So I'm thinking about it, going back and forth, but I may end up doing and going into some other entrepreneurship. I've been, offered a couple of different opportunities as far as that goes. So I think that imposter syndrome is real. You really have to understand that I am supposed to be here and I'm supposed to enjoy the fruits of my labor, right? Not with the I'm not sure. So one of my mentors from school, when I finished my master's degree, her name was Dr. Alicia Olmos. And we had very, very similar stories growing up and, trying to accomplish everything. And she said, your patients won't know that this is your first day. You're going to go in head high, lean on everything that you work so hard for, and go and take care of your patients. And she was absolutely right. And then they're like, oh, when are you back again? I want to see you again. I just love the way you're so understanding, you're knowledgeable. And I think slowly but surely I'm getting that confidence where I know, like, this is the space, this is what I was meant to be. This is what I was supposed to do.
It's funny. I was going back through the first part of the interview, and you had said that the difficult road, the hard road,
Right.
was the Esskee way.
Right. Right.
And that really resonated with me, because now that you're talking about that imposter syndrome and is it the climb to the apex, or is it like
Mhm.
enjoying the
Right.
accomplishment, that all ties in
Mhm.
together. And since you had such a challenging and like mountainous climb to get where you are now,
Mhm.
that is a mindset, I think, that needs to shift now.
Right.
Be able to say, yeah,
Right.
I do belong here. I am supposed to be.
Right. Right.
I love that.
Mhm.
Tell me, like, one thing that you miss about your high school self, who you were at the time,
Mhm.
and then one thing that's gotten better since becoming an adult.
I think one thing I do miss about my high school self would be my eyes were so big. I had so much ambition. I was like, I'm going to join that club. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do student council. I'm going to run for president of student council. I'm going to do cheerleading. I'm going to do dance. I'm going to do marching band. Like, I was always that free spirit. Like, if it was something that, no one else was doing, I still like, I'm going to do. I'm going to still play the flute in high school when everybody else stopped playing the flute in sixth grade. So I do miss that part about me. And I want to say, like, watching your stories with like gymnastics and stuff like that, now as an adult, I'm saying it's okay that if I want to take a dance class, if I want to learn ballet, if I want to learn another language, like, it's okay that I can do that now because you've accomplished everything. There's no more, like, sometimes I look around like you're just finding something to do. There's really, I have all my certifications, so now it's like, okay, as an adult, what is it that I want to learn? What else is there that I wasn't able to because I had to shelter or put back to the side because of everything that was going on? What is it now? Like, who am I? Who is my artistic side? I love to paint. I love to dance. I love to move. So it's really, getting into those spaces. I love to bike. So allowing myself to now use that free time to try and like figure out like what is it that I do enjoy.
And again, giving yourself the permission to
Right.
do that. You've worked so hard between raising your family, having your husband, having your house, getting all of these certifications, getting all this education, and now like that sort of the space is clearer.
Right. It's
So
scary.
it is very scary.
Very scary.
Yeah, I mean, next year, both of my kids are going to be in college, and my husband and I, like, people are like, "Oh, you're going to be empty nesters," and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Right.
I
Right.
don't really. What does that actually look like in
Right.
my house?
Mm-hmm.
I know what it is for other people, but what is it
Right.
for me? And
Right.
there is that mental process to go through.
Yeah. Because I have all this extra time.
Right, right. And I'm like, oh, so yeah, writing,
Right.
gymnastics.
Writing. I'm like trying to DIY. I convinced my husband to buy me a saw. So it's in his
Like,
car. I don't know if he brought it home yet, but it's in the shopping cart.
like a circular saw?
Yeah, because I want to like try to make some furniture. I mean, I don't know. Just see.
When you have the tools, you can
Right.
achieve whatever you want.
Right. Right.
I was going to ask you because I was trying to figure out your timeline because it's
Mhm.
so vast.
Right.
So you had said that you graduated in 2000. Now, did you graduate on time? Were you able to
No.
finish your coursework?
So
How did that work?
yeah. So what happened was when I had my son, I had he's taking AP classes and stuff like that. So there was a big lag so I had to make that time up. So I graduated in 2000. I wasn't able to walk, but I did go to summer school
Mhm.
and got all my stuff. I remember Mr. Shapiro was our AP at the time. Gave me all my stuff in August. I had everything there.
Okay.
And then I went to college in September.
So it was just the summer.
Yeah, just
You
the
had to
summer.
finish things
Mhm.
out. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So
Yep.
it wasn't like a huge lag, like a year or
No,
two.
no, no. But I was you're like thinking back, it's so funny. Like thinking back at that time and stuff like that. And we redid our closet. So I found a lot of stuff from high school. And I was like so sad that I couldn't walk, because it felt like just one more thing that I wasn't able to get done. And then I remember Dr. Shapiro saying, listen, this is a blip in the road. You're going to look back in 20 years and be like, I can't believe I was like so upset about that. He's like, because you're still going to get it. You're going to get this done. You just have to get it in your time,
Yeah,
So I'm like, okay,
he's brilliant.
right? Right.
Heroes are brilliant.
So he hugged me, we cried together, and he's like, and now go register for summer school so you can get your diploma.
That's right. This is like it's May right now. It's May,
Right.
and this is that time where like a lot of those seniors are facing the oh, is this going to really happen for me?
Right.
And I always feel for them because I'm like, I know like how much it hurts now, but you've been dealing with whatever decisions that you've made up or whatever your life experience is up to this point, but this is not the end. Like
Right.
you will get there eventually. You will move past
Eventually.
this. This will be in the
Yes.
yeah.
And that was a big lesson for me to learn because it showed me that you'll get there in due time. It's just not your time. That's all. And you'll graduate so many more times. So it's okay. Let's tie our shoes. Let's blow our nose. And you have to go to college in September. So, and that's what I did.
And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you could give a piece of sage advice to high school students now, what would that be?
My first thing I would say, no matter what your circumstances are, no matter where you come from, we are in a great place where we can do anything. Like I am proof when you put your mind to something, you can do anything. And when you first look at it, the mountain will look so big. But when you chip away and you chip away and you chip away and you chip away, I did it methodically. I set forth what goal I wanted to accomplish so I can get to my end goal. So I became an LPN and I knew that that was the best way that I could provide for my family. I was a licensed practical nurse. I was able to give my children a good life, but I knew when I was around, my supervisor and stuff, they're like, you're smart. What are you doing? You need to go back to school. You need to go back to school. You need to go back to school. Just get your RN, just get your RN. And then I was like, okay, how do we do that? I met they're like, this is how I did it. The days that you have school, Those are the days that you're off. And then the days that you're on, you do your doubles. So you don't miss the money. Because a lot of the time it's, I need the money, I need the money. And then I would tell them, with sacrifice comes reward. And no matter if it seems, oh my God, it's going to be a year, oh, the year's going to pass regardless. So when we have to put ourselves in a space of successfulness, be around people who are successful. You can't want to be up when you're around people who are down, because being down is contagious. And if someone's always poo-pooing your dreams of what you or your aspirations, they're not for you, and they're not supposed to be around you. And I think that me having to go and work as a professional so young, I was around a lot of people who were like, you're too smart for that. You're ready for the next thing. You need to be running a hospital. Yeah. Yep. And they push you forward.
Yeah.
So it comes with time, with recognition, but the worst thing is running in place when people are running past you.
Mm.
And I didn't want that. I didn't want that, because I come from a space where a lot of people run in place. I've had people that we went to high school with that are like, I see you, and I'm like, I could do it too. And I'm 40 and I could do it too. And I said, absolutely. Let's set you up for success. Let's start with the first step. So even though you're in high school, you're trying to figure it out, you don't know which way is up, you're the only person in your family who has a willingness to get some sort of degree. And I'm not saying college is the answer for everyone, but there are technical programs, there are HVAC, whatever it may be. When you align yourself with your goal and you say, I'm going to do it, we are in such a great place that you can do it. By hook or by crook, you can do it.
I was writing the blog and reflecting the section about the people, like the mentors, the
Yeah.
guardian angels,
Yeah.
we call them. And I think you're so right, finding those people, and sometimes they find you.
Right.
Like, when you're in the middle of it, you don't really realize that it's happening. But when you look back, you're like, oh, that person was watching me and was meant to give me that push so that I knew it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
I could feel comfortable with moving to the next step. And I think, I think all of us who have whatever, some degree of success in, whether it's, a career or a passion or, whatever it is that we've achieved stuff, there's always people who were behind us who gave us, because you're not born knowing these things.
Not at all.
You're taught these things. And if it can't happen in the home, then it's got to happen in the outside world.
Right.
And, if you're blessed to have those people who are there, and you're smart enough to listen to those people,
Right.
and then
Right.
take the action and believe in yourself to
Right.
be able to push yourself through. And so I think you had all of those things that converged to make this incredibly successful woman that you are now.
Right.
And I love that you have not just an appreciation, but you have like that sort of that big picture lens that you're looking through to say to other people who might be going through or have been going through really hard times and didn't have, the silver spoon, so to speak, to say, yeah, you can do it too. It's out there for you.
Absolutely.
I love this. Oh, I'm so glad we're doing this again. So we're actually, to the last question. And that is reflecting on where you are in your space right now. What are 3 self-care practices that you do now to help you to regulate or center yourself?
So one thing that I was on TikTok, of course, and I started journaling a little bit and giving myself grace in the morning before I talk to anyone, before I look at my phone, before the kids get up, I get my husband ready for work, and then I take just like that hour where it's quiet and reflect. I say my prayers. I give grace and thankfulness for who but me, that I've been given such opportunities, and that I'm appreciative of that. I pray a lot for my children that they are receptive to that as well.
Mm.
Exercise is another thing that I've, been trying to work on. It's super hard. You have to like carve out your time. But I think about Michelle Obama. She's like, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. So I'm like, okay, maybe I could try that now.
You like yourself?
But trying to carve out that time, and trying to be as healthy as I can be and role model for my children to see that exercising and eating healthy and eating fruits and veggies and stuff like that is super important, and that the treats will always be there, and should be treated as a treat, when something's good going on, you want to, give yourself a treat. And the third thing is now I'm moving into the space professionally where I'm trying to decide if I do want to further my education, or should I just, I mean, I have a great job right now. It allows for like work family balance, things that you pray for a long time. Making that 5-year plan of what I want to see done, where I want to be in 5 years, which is a lot less pressure than I've had in the past, because now I'm kind of like leveled out and even keeled, and it's a choice now. It's not, you have to do it.
I love when I talk to people, former students, people, and they're considering the doctoral level, because it feels like it's such an out of reach
Right.
accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
There have been times when I've like thought about it and I'm like, I mean, it would be great to call yourself doctor and
Right.
yay,
Uh-huh.
but what's the real use for it in
Right.
my space?
Mm-hmm.
Do I see myself wanting to go into those spaces,
Right.
for the next 20 years, really? Because
Right.
so I hope you do, but I think more so, I hope you make the realization that really works best for you.
Right.
But it would be nice to call you Dr. Doucet.
I know. Yes, yes. I mean, I'm thinking about it. I just have a few more, like the boys are still little. I'm trying to capture every day, every moment of like the baseball games and swimming and, football. And it's like I said, it's nice to have that choice. It
Now it's
really,
enjoying being a mom,
right, right.
not always behind the 8 ball.
Yes, yes. Now I don't see the 8 ball.
It's gone.
Gone.
On the other side of the table. How old are the boys now?
9 and 7.
9 and 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, so adolescence is coming.
Yes, that it is.
Uh,
That is.
what was it like? What was it like with your first two? Especially, I'm always curious about the females in particular.
Right.
What was it like having an adolescent female go through your space?
We had our times where it was just so difficult. And what I ended up learning was you can't restrict so much, right? 'Cause I'm like, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. And then I found that she would do it anyway. And I'm like, okay, so this is defiance. So then I'm like, let me take a step back. What are the pros and cons of things that she wants to do? Like, why is it that I'm so against it? Why? And then at that time, Vine was out and Instagram was out, just, came out. And I'm like, I sat down with my husband and we were talking about it. And I was just like, I feel like she's going to do it anyway. So let's give her the option to do it, but with parameters. We sat down with her and was like, we'll give a little and you give a little. Okay. So as long as your grades are where they're supposed to be, this doesn't overtake, whatever, you're still going to play your sports, you're going to do basketball, and you could have it. And she was just like, okay. And I was like, yeah, just don't. And this is, a test for you. Is it going to mess you up? Is it going to slow down your grades? Or, and she did well with it. That taught me with her, you got to give a little. She's very strong-willed, very, very strong. So you got to give a little. I try to make sure with both of my older kids and even with my younger kids, I've instilled in them that I will never judge you. I don't care what it is. I don't care how bad it is. I need you to tell me. That's all. Just communicate with me. And if you can't say it out loud, because I know what that feels like, write it down and just give it to me. But in order for me to back you 100%, I can't be in the dark. And I don't like when anyone can come and tell me about what my children are doing.
No surprises.
None. Please don't. And even with the littles now, they're in primary school, but as soon as they get off the bus, it's hold on. Did you get a message on Remind? Because this, and this happened, and this happened. So I just want to let you know. And then there's no punishment. Why? Because you came to me.
Full disclosure.
That's all I ask. And it starts from, this age. So then when they are 22, 23, or 21 in college and someone gets pulled over or whatever it may be, you're calling me immediately like, listen, this is what's happening. I need you, and I'm there.
Right.
But that trust starts from the beginning, because I think that in order for you to trust me, I have to trust you.
There's a lot of, when you're parenting, there's a lot of fear of
Right.
the what ifs, right?
Right.
What if, what if,
Right.
what if? You want to trust your child inherently, but you also know that they're children.
Right.
And they're not always going to make the best decisions,
No.
because we're trying to teach them how to do that. And we don't always, catch it
No.
in time. So I think the idea of just put the kibosh on it so it can't happen.
Right.
But then how do they learn?
Right. Right.
When my daughter finally went away, because she was at RCC for the first
Mhm.
2 years, pandemic and
Right.
other stuff. So she finally went away as a junior. She was 20.
Mhm.
And we were like so fearful in the back of our minds. We trusted her. We knew that she was ready.
Right.
It was
Right.
time. All that is true. But there is that fear in the back of your head going, she's 2.5 hours away. What if something happens?
Right. Right.
All of that. And there is that letting go process is the hardest thing
It really
as
is.
a parent.
Right. Especially those two, because it's like we were in the trenches together. You know what I mean? Like my littles and my older got 2 different mommies. So, and I struggle with that sometimes, just to make sure that I made sure I did the best that I could do with the circumstances that at that time. But we grew up together. So it was more like, oh gosh, my friends is leaving me. But it's a major fear.
Yeah. What a story. What a story you've had. It's for the purposes of, this podcast, it's actually the first of its kind.
Mhm.
So I'm really glad to be sharing it to show that these are real things that happen
Right.
to real people,
Right.
and they will continue to happen to people in the future. And so my hope, my prayer is that somebody who might be in that situation or might be dealing with sort of similar
Mhm.
circumstances in their life can see it and get that boost of confidence to say, I can do this too.
Right.
There are people out there who have done it, and I can do this too. And we're
Right.
not so different.
Right. Not at all. And
I
when
appreciate that.
I was speaker at my graduation for my master's degree,
Mm.
and I graduated summa cum laude, and I'm just like, listen, if you dream really hard and work really hard, they come true. I promise you.
It's true. You have to put the work in,
You have to.
the sacrifice is there.
Yes, you have to. But it's so doable. And then it makes you appreciate it so much more.
And what you have set up both for yourself and for your children is immeasurable.
Yes. Right. My baby's graduating. My older baby graduated. He has his bachelor's in, business from St. John's. He's going to start his MBA program. My other baby's graduating with a degree in health science, and then she'll go back and get her RN, and she's graduating from University of Bridgeport. So, God is good. He works.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, he
And
does.
so do you.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for both of our chat sessions. I think they both revealed some beautiful, beautiful things about your life and will be very helpful and useful to other people in the years to come. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and watching Change for the Better, episode 43. I am grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Ah. Oh, all right. We did really good. That was amazing.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I still sometimes I look back like, oh man, it's a storied life, sister.
It is.
Yeah,
But our stories, that they're who we are.
right,
And they, we had to learn the lessons, maybe the hard way.
right,
But now we have all of this wisdom and knowledge to be able to
right,
share.
right. Absolutely. And if I can help one person, I'm grateful.
I think you're helping a lot of people. And I think that you're turning into that guardian angel
Right.
that you received the benefits from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
payback.
Yes, definitely.
Paying it forward. Thank you for taking the time. I appreciate we got this done in good time. I am going to put the gas pedal on and try and get this episode out sometime this week.
Okay.
And then I will let you know. We'll share on all the socials, and
Okay.
hopefully some
Clean
people.
the cabinets today. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good.
clean the cabinets. That's it.
Yeah.
It's my I like that. Put music on. It's Saturday. It's raining, so the kids are doing their own thing. Tomorrow's track, so we'll be at the track all day.
Mhm.
So this will be my little good downtime.
How many
That's it.
How many days a week do you work?
I work 4 10s, so 4 10-hour shifts.
That's a long day.
Yeah, so it's like 9 to 7. I have to go in to the hospital twice the schedule, but other than that, I'm home.
Oh. So okay, I didn't stop the recording, so this is fine.
Uh-huh.
Well, so what capacity is your job? Like what do you do?
So I work in the emergency department.
Right.
So I triage patients. I speak to the doctors on the phone who's sending someone over. We're reviewing the results. So just in case the doctor missed something because it's super busy. So we're like a support providers. And then we do go in and work. But this is like this is a good gig.
It's a good gig.
Yeah.
You get to
I
be
just
home twice a week.
right. I could put my kids on and off the bus. I'm home with dinner, and this is a blessed position. Yeah. It's about time. Don't work hard no more.
Well, you do. It's just in a different capacity.
Yeah, different, totally. Like now it's a mental thought process. It's not just doing the labor. It's, am I making the right decision for my patient? Is this patient going to do well? Is this patient not going to do well? Do this patient need to be reevaluated? It's a lot of that. That's a hard decision to make because you're responsible. When I got this job and I was just like, is this real? Like, is this a real job? And it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Great.
It's good.
And my question, is it okay that I do Nance-Doucet just so that
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's what I use whenever I graduate, because Nance will never leave me. Yeah, never. That she's who started it all.
who we are?
That's it. That's it.
Doucet's the next step.
Right. Yeah, it's been good. It's been
Well, you're blessed, and I'm so glad that we had this conversation
good.
together.
Me too. I was just talking to my cousin Hadia. I'm gonna have her reach out to you.
Oh
Yeah.
God, you guys
Yeah.
are cousins?
Yes, we're first cousins. Our moms are sisters.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to her in a while. Every
Yeah.
once in a while, like we kind of reconnect.
Right. Right. But
I gotta do her now. That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
All right, I got my work cut out for me. I'm excited. The blog is already like it's so long already, and I have to add more to it now. But I'm really super.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye-bye.